For 8 months, we tried. And there was a glimmer of hope until we needed money from the investor to sort of change a few things to just bring the company back. And they said, we're not sinking another dollar into this business. If you can fix it without our dollar, we're fine. So I remember going into work on a Monday morning, and the MD said to ask the management team that it's done, it's finished. Like, I was blank, but it was a beautiful blank space. Because I felt like I can sleep now and really rest.
And you hadn't had that before?
Yes. Even when I was transitioning from MTN to broadband, I literally had 2 days off into the new role.
But you know, for many people, that's their reality. It's
yes.
just go.
Yes.
Go,
and
work.
I actually thanked God that I had that moment.
Well, I think at the time, though.
No, even then. Because I said to myself, what can I do? I cannot open the company. I cannot find a job. I could go mad. I could go crazy. But I'm not going to go crazy. I'm just going to see where this takes me. And I called my friends. 2 of them were on leave. I said, I don't have a job. And we then went to one of the ladies' houses. We drank tea and ate so much and talked. And for a few weeks, that's what it was. Then when the company closed, someone called me from Airtel to say, would like to chat. I was like, of course, I can never work for Airtel. First of all, I'm MTN. I'm
the
team
loyalty
MTN. I'm yellow inside. I cannot go to the red team. They convinced me to just go for a chat. And it's one of those chats where you're asked a few questions and the answers just kind of roll. And second nature. And they said, you have to come and work for us. I was like, no. They said, just give us your pay slip from where you were. I was like, you can't even afford me. They gave me the money that I wanted. A month later, I'm back at work. And my plan in between was to start a consultancy and, do a business sales consultancy. I said, let me go in and give it a few months, a few years, maybe 2, and really solidify my plan. And when I went into Airtel, my God, for the first time in my life, I experienced insomnia in the worst possible way.
You stopped sleeping?
I stopped sleeping completely.
Why?
It was just too much. It was so fast.
The pressure?
The pressure was crazy. They talked numbers, and numbers make me dizzy. And I remember I would wake up in the middle of the night, and I would pick up a conversation. Like, I would know that I was having a conversation with my boss. It was so vivid. And when I slept, I picked up the conversation from where I stopped. After probably 2 weeks, I went and Googled what to do to counter insomnia. And interestingly, there was a show on TV where a doctor was talking about what to do. And it was very similar to what I was reading.
Yeah.
Have a routine before you go to bed.
Yes.
Have a cup of tea.
To disconnect from work.
Yes. Do not look at your phone for an hour before you go to bed. Read a book. If you wake up in the middle of the night, do not switch on the TV like most people do when they can't sleep anymore. Switch on the TV or take your phone. It was things that I had to do. And I just thought, what life is this? When I spoke to some of the staff members, nearly everyone had been through it. And I said, this is not healthy. This cannot be
life.
It cannot be life. It cannot be work. Because how long are we going to be on these jobs?
So, did you make a choice to leave?
No.
You hung in there.
I hung in there. I struggled. And I've talked about my boss before. I had a boss he was a boss from hell.
Okay.
He was nasty. He would send me emails in red. And when I would respond, he would write back in bold. Like, have you ever seen what...
So someone who's yelling at
yes,
you
like
in an email.
Like
I know that thing.
Like the
or
font
in a memo yelling at you.
Yes, the font he would use would be like red and bold and at 40. And one day I went to the HR director and I said, look at this. Look at this.
Yeah, some people just don't have communication skills.
Yeah. And I could have left. I was too scared to leave. And every day I knew that my time was up, but I was too scared. I was like, how do you even quit a job? What happens? I spoke to a few people who are like, don't quit. Others were like, quit. I hung in there until I was fired. Because obviously productivity was low. I didn't want to go into the office.
You've lost confidence?
I've lost confidence in myself. And when I quit, I had another moment of chapter closed. But this time I knew that I was not going to go to another organization to be employed again.
Okay, so I guess that brings us to where you are now. You have your own dance studio.
And
you are a certified Zumba instructor.
Even that did not...
But it must have taken quite a bit to transition.
Yeah, I did not... So I was teaching Zumba then.
Okay.
I'd been teaching Zumba for...
While you were working at Airtel?
Yes. For about... I started teaching Zumba at the beginning of 2014. And this was happening in September 2015 is when I left. At that time, I was teaching class at Acacia Mall. I had 2 classes first, then 3 classes a week. Very comfortably late, so it didn't interfere with my work. But now that I was out of the job, I was like, if I'm doing 3 evening classes, let me throw in some morning classes to just be relevant in the morning after dropping my kids off to school. And it got better. The classes got better.
But I imagine to even become a Zumba instructor, you must come from a place of like passion. Because that's...
It was passion, but it was also an escape. It was first an escape.
Oh, wow.
But I found a beautiful place to escape to. You know, where we were dancing, and I loved to dance. And I thought, wow, this is so cool. In a short time, I wanted to kind of show people how the dance was supposed to be done, how the move was supposed to be done. And then I wanted to teach. Within 7 months, I was teaching. Okay. 7 months of starting, I was teaching. And I don't even know how I got the confidence to do it, but I did. And so now that I'm out of a job, I thought people do business on the side and they earn maybe 2-3 million shillings from their business. I don't know. I was earning about 1.5 from the few Zumba classes. That's when I thought to myself, while I've been saying I don't have a side business, I don't have a side hustle, this actually is a side hustle.
It is a side hustle.
So I thought, okay, fine. I'm not really at zero. Let's just see what we can do with it. And it started growing. Eventually, I moved from there to start my own studio, which was, gosh, such a scary thing.
Yeah.
I had a partner who, I mean, she was like a bulldozer. Let's do it. And she gets up and goes, while I'm like, okay, let's sit tomorrow. She's already gone. So she helped me a lot. Cross boundaries that I never imagined I would. It didn't work out, unfortunately. But I knew that was my line, like I'd found my place.
Yes.
And slowly I realized that if I hung in there long enough and I tapped into my passion and just stuck there, I was going to make it work.
Okay.
Today I own my own studio, and there's been so much growth, like tremendous growth. Along the way, I started doing mental health advocacy.
Exactly. But the thing also a lot of people don't realize about any kind of exercise program, especially one like dance, which involves a lot of fun and feel good, it's also a healing space.
It actually is, in a big way, is a healing space, in a big way. And many people come to the class, and I know now what it is. I didn't know before. I would wonder, what are we, why does everyone come and feel like they're so addicted now? They're so, like, I love this class so much, or I feel Now I know it's because it's a place of healing, and we do not know that we're healing, but we get addicted to how it makes us feel. We want more and more of it, and it's in fact from that sense of healing that I thought one day when I went to Butabika Hospital and music was being played in one of the wards, I thought, if music does this for us, maybe that's why it's being played in the, in the ward. How
And
about
that's how you started doing the classes at Butabika
I was like, how
Hospital?
about if we added dance to it? It was such an exciting and scary thought and bold. And I was thinking, who are you? But then also I was like, I have to do it. It took me about a year to decide to write. I wrote to them. They took, it took, actually not a year, maybe 6 months. When I wrote, it took a long time, so many months for them to respond. And finally, they did, and
now you have classes.
yes, every month
With the
for 2
patients.
years now.
But it's open to other people to join.
Yes, it's open to other people to join. You've come to the class.
Yes, I have.
Yes,
I have.
yes.
It's the most beautiful experience.
It is.
Because the joy that they have in the dance and the music.
I love it, and I want to do more now. I know, I've always known that I wanted to do more. I didn't know how. Now my plan is crisp and is clear. I can't share it now though, but I know that I'm going to do a lot more.
Okay.
With mental health.
Okay. I want to take you back a bit. You talked about growing up, you had a lot of step siblings, and your father passed on.
Yes.
Yes. What about your mother?
My father passed on when I was at the start of senior 3.
Okay.
My mom passed on when I was in S5. And it was, I don't even know. I have no parents now. I have siblings. Oh my God.
A lot to deal with.
So, what that curtain meant is that I never quite dealt with the pain of it. That the real meaning.
It just kept going, kept going,
Yeah,
kept going, kept
I kept going, and of course, by the time my parents passed, one of my stepsisters had moved to the UK, many years before. My older siblings, who were studying abroad by the time my parents passed, came back, but they moved out. They didn't come back home. So it was me and 5 of my siblings, and we had the same mother. And I just knew that I was not the eldest, but I was in the highest class. So I had to take care of them. And every day I went to university. Every week I received money for shopping, to buy food at home. And I just seemed like I always had money, To my friends, I always had money, but I also knew that the money was to buy food, and
yes, you had responsibilities.
Yes, sometimes they looked at me and they were like, Gerry, you're so strong, like you have to do all this. I would party, and then at 5 o'clock, instead of going home, I'd go to the market to buy food to take home. And again, every day I just kept going, and we turned out okay, for the most part. And oh my God, I was thinking, of course I'm not going to cry on the show, like I have nothing to cry about. But it's
Did that shape you?
Yes, it did. It did.
Because it sounds like, your personality has been just go, 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 go. Even though there's a dip, you keep going, going, going. But sometimes, you're talking about mental health, sometimes you need to stop.
Yeah.
And also just feel and
Yeah.
deal.
And my escape has always been, just keep going, just keep moving. We will deal with this when we have time. But I never make the time. And I know now that sometimes I need to sit back and go through whatever I have to go through, experience it and put it behind me. Because otherwise, every now and again, like I'll be driving and I get to traffic lights and I stop and I just think, I wish I could talk to my mom about something. And I would just cry so much, till I can't see, so I can't drive. And then I'd say, well, you have to keep driving, so like that's enough for today, for this season, But I have never spoken about my family. I have been in court over my dad's estate since I was 19. And my dad was a wealthy man. He came from nothing to absolute wealth. He worked so hard. When he passed away, we had a roof over our heads. Always. We had school fees. We had money every week to buy food. But that was about it, And when I say school fees, I mean the fees at the school was paid. It's the requirements that
you had to figure out.
Sometimes did not come. There was no figuring out because
was it your older siblings who kind of were in control of their estate?
My older siblings, yes. My sister, brother, and...
So you've been in court with them?
Yeah. So obviously everyone was like, how do you take your siblings to court? And I would say at 19, we didn't go to court at 19, but that's when I started speaking to lawyers. And these were, friends of mine people I knew from Budo. So I thought, if I speak to them, they'll help me. And they wrote a few letters. I was in university. First, it was a surgery that I had to have. The doctor said I had to have an emergency cystectomy. And for a year, it was an emergency. For nearly a year.
You couldn't have the surgery?
I didn't have the surgery. Because I was told, this is a disease you have picked up from sleeping around. And in my mind, I was like, so if I slept around, now I need surgery. Like, let's forget the fact that I have slept around. I need surgery. So what do we do? I was sent to different hospitals to get other opinions on what I was suffering from. Then when I exhausted those avenues, I was told to find a hospital to do the surgery. So obviously, I don't come from a poor family. Even though my parents have passed, they've left a vast estate. I went to IHK, I went to all the big hospitals, presented the bill, the invoice, and I was told it's too expensive. I went to Mulago, I went to Mengo, I went to all these other places. And this back and forth went on for a year.
Yet you needed it.
Yes. And
the money was available.
The money was available. I only got the surgery after a lawyer wrote a letter. And the surgery was done in Mengo Hospital. And there's so many things that happen to us like that. Sometimes when we fell sick, we had to go to the office, explain what we were suffering from, and then we were told, come back tomorrow. And when you go back the next day, you're given medicine. And I just used to think, what life is this? Not so much for me, but for my siblings.
Yeah. So you had to be strong for everyone else.
Yeah. So I always say to my friends who are lawyers that I hate lawyers. I hate our justice system. I hate what they do to people. My father left a will. He only had 10 children when he died. Only 10 children.